As a Mackay student from 1965 to 68, Jim Barks participated in several sports and extracurricular activities. He played baseball, basketball, and football growing up, which he lettered on the varsity team as a sophomore. Jim started at fullback on the JV squad, averaging 2 touchdowns per game until tearing a ligament in his knee. He rehabbed with teacher and mentor Bob Collins, and ultimately healed enough to go out for track and field later that year, specializing in the discus and shot put. Jim lettered on the varsity team all 3 years, and worked tirelessly to become one of the best throwers on the team. He was a real student of the sport, always practicing his form and gaining knowledge about the craft in any way that he could. His work ethic carried over into his role as an outstanding student, as he was involved in nearly every club and organization offered, such as High Y and Key Clubs, the Activities Evaluation Committee, and an inter-club council member, while serving as the student body vice president in his senior year. In 1972, Jim obtained his master's degree in teaching from the University of Portland, which started a 7-year coaching stint at Central Catholic High School, where he coached football and track, leading the boys team to 2 consecutive third-place finishes at the state meet, before returning to McMinnville in 1979. He taught math and coached football and track at Patton Middle School for 4 years, before accepting a position to do the same at Mackay in 1983. He taught and coached for 27 years, until his retirement in 2009. He served as a varsity assistant and head freshman football coach for the majority of those years, always valuing an individual kid's needs over the politics of the game, while taking great pride in preparing the younger ages with sports and life lessons for the tougher years ahead.
You know what I thought his greatest asset with freshman football, and if he did one thing, it wasn't necessarily winning or losing, but he taught those kids how to be a team and play together, and if you played for him, you know what I'm talking about.
Jim led the Grizzlies track and field teams as their varsity head coach for his entire career, while achieving a multitude of personal and team achievements along the way. He produced 239 individual state meet qualifiers, 121 individual district champions, and 14 individual state champions. He developed his athletes to set countless personal and school records, 30 of which still stand. His boys' teams won 2 district championships, while his girls won 4, and in 1996, the girls' team won Mackay's only state title in track and field. That year, Jim was chosen as the Oregon Track Coach of the Year, cementing his name in the state's record book.
Pretty much everything I know I had learned from Jim, because my intention of being a coach I wasn't really there, but really Jim kind of brought the love of coaching to me, and the love of the sport.
If there was one coach in the high school that got kids out to participate, it was Jim Barks. At some times he was pushing 100. Outside
of his classroom, he had a countdown timer. How many days till track time. That was a big thing too. Track time, it's track time. He would yell that out all the time. Announcements, it's track time, and we heard that probably 1,000 times.
After the girls placed 4th at the state meet in 2009, Jim Barks retired as head coach, winning 54% of his career meets. But he still assists the team by working with the throwers and pole vaulters today.
In our opinion, many coaches' opinion, the 2 most technical events in track and field are the discus and the pole vault, which has been Jim's specialties. And there's no way I could be as organized as Jim, but I strive to be. And also his attention to detail in each meet and preparation. I just try to do the best job I can of being close to what he would always strive for. And also remembering the history of our teams and keeping that intact. Passing on the stories is a big thing to me, and I hope that whoever takes over after me does the same.
I think there's a lot of schools that track and baseball maybe are always butting heads, and that was never the case with Jim. When he was our track coach, if we had a big baseball game, he'd end practice a little bit early so the track team could come out and watch the baseball game, and Jim was right there with them. And I still remember we played Newburgh in a big game, and all of a sudden I look out in left field. The game is just starting. It's a great day. Track practice has been canceled, and he's got almost the entire track team lined up around the fence from left field to center field, and they're beating on the fence with their hands. They ended up actually asking them if they had to stop pounding on the fence during the game. But I remember other coaches saying, boy, that's pretty special when you got a track coach that's that supportive.
What he values most over his remarkable statistics are the long list of facility improvements he's brought to Mac High and the deep connection to each of his students and athletes alike.
Jim was great with kids, and the cool thing about Jim was it didn't matter if you were varsity or JV. He was excited for you if you got a PR, you know, even a little PR. I mean, a 1/4 inch in the shot put. He said, "Hey, PR, baby," and it was a high five.
I think we were all really proud of how well Jim did as a track coach, because he always had good success. He had large turnouts, and I think what really made it special is he always treated kids really well. You know, I taught and coached with Jim Barks for quite a few years at McMinnville. I don't think I've ever heard a kid ever say a bad word about it. When it's all said and done, when you coach, I think that's probably the most special thing of all. If at the end of your career the kids say, "Hey, this was a great experience playing for this guy, you've done a good job," and that was definitely what was true with Jim.